If you have ever used a dating app, you probably had some bad experience, and you may have wondered, has anyone ever been murdered in one of these things? Well, let me show you. So this guy, his name is Ethan, and he's a cool-free, fun-loving guy. He works in a concrete company, and his customers love him, and his co-workers love him. Ethan's life is good. And Ethan is also married. And one day, he and his wife, they aren't seeing eye to eye. And soon they are arguing all the time, and this is stressing him out. And it's really affecting his mental health. And he is anxious and he is distracted, and his wife is worried about him. And she suggests that he gets some help. But he doesn't. So nothing changes. And unfortunately, they end up separating. And Ethan is devastated about this. How could she leave him? And pretty quickly, he gets really depressed. And soon enough, everyone starts to notice. His friends and his co-workers, they barely recognize him. Like he used to be so much fun to work with, and now he's just kind of a bummer. And not only that, he starts to think really dark, violent thoughts. Specifically, thoughts about hating women. And to make it worse, he starts to talk about those thoughts out loud at work. And as you can imagine, pretty uncomfortable for everyone around him. People were like, yo, you need to chill, bro. And I don't know exactly what happens, but eventually there was an altercation between Ethan and one of his female co-workers, and Ethan ends up getting fired. And this pisses him off even more. And little by little, he isolates himself from his family, from his friends, and it's only lonely fucking for him. And so one day, he is on Instagram, and he comes across this woman he used to work with back when he was a teenager. Her name is Autumn. And Ethan always thought Autumn was fine. So he slides into her DMs and they start chatting. And pretty soon he's like, so, you wanna hang tomorrow? And she's like, sorry, I already have plans. And a few days later, he tries again, like, wanna hang? And again, she's like, nah, I have plans, bro. Here is the thing. Autumn is really not into him. She's just trying to let him down easy. But Ethan doesn't really get the hint. Maybe he thinks she's playing hard to get, I don't know. But he keeps testing her, and all what he's doing is freaking Autumn out. And eventually, she just ghosted. Stop answering. I actually have screenshots of his text. Hey, are you doing anything tomorrow night? 2 weeks later, hey, what's up? 2 months later, hey, how are you? And she never answers. So I imagine Ethan is frustrated with the woman in his life, like women in general. And bro just snapped. He's finally had enough. Someone needs to pay for all this rejection he is going through. So he opens his phone and he taps on Tinder app and he starts swiping, looking for a girl, any girl. And soon, boom, he gets a match with this woman. Her name is Ashlyn. Ashlyn is 25 and she works with kids with special needs, and she's really a good person. So Ashlyn and Ethan, they start chatting and they hit it off and they decide to meet up. The next night, they finally meet. Ethan drives to her house, he picks her up, and they go out to a local bar. And he is polite, he is nice to her, and they are there for about 4 hours drinking and hanging out. And Ashlyn, she's kind of feeling him, and he is kind of feeling her. So he invites her back to his place to chill. She's like, alright. So they go back to his place, and they watch a movie, and they end up smashing. And eventually, they fall asleep. And it seems like this date is going pretty well. Maybe now, Ethan understands that not all women are out to hate him. Until around 3 a.m., Ethan wakes up and he sees Ashley next to him, and he watches her sleep for a moment peacefully, and that is when he snaps. Suddenly, pow, he wraps his hair around her throat and he squeezes her as hard as he can. And she wakes up. and he's choking her, and she fights back and she hits him, but he's just too strong and he will let go. Then he does finally let go, and sadly he runs into the kitchen, and as Ashlyn is struggling to catch her breath, he comes back with a knife and he starts stabbing her over and over again, like 10 times. And as she lays there injured, dying, Ethan calls 911, and he's like, I just unalive someone, I want to unalive myself. And the 911 operators were like, oh shit, and she immediately dispatched police. Minutes later, police arrives at Ethan's house and they find Ashlyn, and as you can guess, she unfortunately doesn't make it. And when the police ask Ethan what happened, he's like, we were on tunnel dates, we came back to watch a movie and I wake up and unalive her. And police were like, you attacked her completely unprovoked? And Ethan is like, yeah. And so bam, they arrest him. Here is his mugshot, and he's charged with first-degree murder, and ultimately he ends up pleading guilty, and he is sentenced to a minimum of 15 years in prison. So yeah, be careful with your dating apps.